I'm Jane.
Standing at the airport terminal, watching Eric's face turn red with humiliation, I felt a strange sense of calm. The man who had once been the center of my world now stood there, clutching his useless ticket, his pride in tatters. This was the moment I took back control, the moment I started to rewrite my story. It wasn't always like this. I used to have a seemingly ordinary life. I was married to Tom, a software engineer with a busy schedule. We lived in a cozy two-bedroom apartment in the suburbs of Seattle. 3 years ago, we bought this place, signing a 30-year mortgage that took a big chunk of our combined incomes. But I always told myself it was better than paying rent. There was a sense of pride in having our own little corner of the world, even though the bank technically owned more of it than we did. My days followed a predictable rhythm. I worked at a small to medium-sized graphic design firm downtown. It wasn't my dream job, but it paid the bills and gave me enough flexibility to balance my life. Every morning, I'd brew a cup of coffee, put it in my travel mug, and fight through the traffic to get to work. Tom, on the other hand, often had late nights at the office, sometimes even staying overnight on projects. I got used to his absences, thinking it was just the nature of his job. On weekends, I loved to visit my mother, Helen. She was 62 years old, a retired librarian who still volunteered at the local library to keep herself occupied. She was a no-nonsense woman, very practical and straightforward. But beneath her tough exterior, I knew she loved me deeply. Our conversations usually happened around the kitchen table, sipping tea and chatting about our week. One Monday evening in early summer, everything changed. I got home around 7:30, exhausted after a long day of working on a big project. I heated up some leftovers, ate in front of the TV, and then took a shower. Tom had texted me earlier saying he'd be late, which was nothing out of the ordinary. I was expecting to have a quiet evening alone. At around 8:30, my phone rang. It was my mother. Helen rarely called this late. My heart skipped a beat as I answered the phone. Mom, is everything okay? Her voice on the other end was tense and urgent. Jane, I need you to do something right now. Set up a camera in your living room, somewhere where it can see the front door. Then leave the house. Go to Lisa's place. Just don't stay here tonight. I was completely confused.
A camera?
Mom, what are you talking about? She wouldn't explain, just kept insisting that I trust her. Please, Jane, don't ask questions. Just do it and go. You'll thank me later. There was something in her voice that made me realize this was serious. I remembered the small security camera I'd bought last year when we went on vacation and had a friend take care of our plants. It was still in a drawer, and I quickly retrieved it, checked the battery, and found a hiding place in a large potted plant in the corner of the living room. As I adjusted the camera to get the right angle, my hands were shaking. I pulled up the camera feed on my phone and saw that it was clear. Then, with a heavy heart, I grabbed my purse and jacket, locked the door, and headed out. On the way to Lisa's, I called my mother back. Mom, I did what you asked. The camera is set up and I'm on my way to Lisa's. She replied, Good. Stay there tonight. Don't go back home. We'll talk tomorrow. I couldn't help but ask, Mom, you're scaring me. Is Tom in some kind of trouble? What's going on? She just said, Not over the phone. Just trust me. I'll explain everything tomorrow. The line went dead, and I was left with a knot of unease in my stomach. When I arrived at Lisa's, she greeted me at the door with a surprised look on her face. Jane, what's going on? You look like you've seen a ghost. I forced a smile and said, I'm not sure. My mom just asked me to do something really strange, and I did it. Lisa motioned me inside and said, Sit down and tell me everything. It sounds like a story. As I sat on the couch, my mind kept going back to the hidden camera and my mother's urgent words. Lisa poured us 2 glasses of wine and asked, Jane, has it ever occurred to you that your mom might suspect Tom is cheating? The thought hit me like a punch in the gut. I immediately defended Tom. No, absolutely not. He's just busy with work. His job keeps him out late. You know that. But Lisa was skeptical. I know what you've told me, but men who work those long hours. Sometimes there's more to it. I shook my head, feeling defensive. Tom is loyal. He's always been loyal. My mom is just overreacting. She can be a bit suspicious sometimes. Just then, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Tom. Where are you? I just got home. I hesitated for a moment, then typed back. I'm at Lisa's. Decided to stay the night. A few seconds later, he replied, Everything okay? I replied, Yeah, just wanted some girl time. His next message was, Okay, get some rest. I'll see you tomorrow. The exchange should have made me feel better, but instead, it made me more uneasy. There was something off about his short, cold replies. Before I could take a sip of my wine, my phone rang again. It was my mother. She said, Jane, whatever you do, don't watch the camera feed tonight. Wait until tomorrow. I was stunned.
Why?
I already set it up. I could check it right now. She was firm. Promise me you won't. Go to bed, and we'll talk in the morning. I pleaded, Mom, you're being so cryptic. What's happening? She just said, I can't say over the phone. Just trust me. Stay with Lisa, and don't go home tonight. The next morning, I woke up early, my mind filled with questions. I couldn't stop thinking about what might be on the camera feed. I reached for my phone, hesitated for a moment, and then tapped on the camera app. The feed loaded, and my breath caught in my throat. At first, the living room looked normal. But then, at around 12:30 a.m., the front door opened. Tom walked in, followed by a young, attractive woman. My heart sank as I watched them act like they were at home. They kissed, and then she went into the hallway and came back wearing one of my sweaters. It was clear that this wasn't a one-time thing. They had a relationship, and it had been going on behind my back for who knows how long. I felt sick to my stomach. The man I had loved and trusted was betraying me in our own home. I couldn't hold back the tears. Lisa came into the room and saw my face. Jane, what happened? I could barely speak. He brought her into our house. They were together on our couch. Lisa pulled me into a hug. Oh, Jane, I'm so sorry. I had a feeling something wasn't right. I pulled back and said, I defended him. I told you he was loyal. I thought my mom was overreacting. Later that day, I drove to my mother's house. As I rang the bell, my heart was pounding. She opened the door and saw my pale face. Come in, sweetheart. We sat at the kitchen table, and I said, I saw it, Mom. I saw him with that woman. She reached across the table and took my hand. I know. I've known for about a month. I was at a coffee shop downtown and saw them together. At first, I thought she might be a client, but the way they were acting, it was obvious they were more than that. I was shocked. Why didn't you tell me right away? She said, I was afraid you wouldn't believe me. You love Tom so much, and I thought you'd defend him. I decided the best way was for you to see it with your own eyes. I started to cry. It's worse than I ever imagined. She was so comfortable in our home, like she belonged there. Mom squeezed my hand. That's why I told you not to watch the feed last night. I knew it would hurt you, and I didn't want you to face it alone. She then told me about her own experience. Your father cheated on me when you were 10. I found out when I noticed some strange charges on our credit card. I confronted him, and he admitted it. I decided to leave quietly. I didn't want you to see me begging a man who didn't love me anymore. It was the hardest thing I ever did, but it was the right thing. I listened in silence. I finally understood why my mother had been so secretive. I said, I used to think you were too cold about Dad leaving, but now I understand. She smiled gently. I wasn't cold, Jane. I was broken. But I learned that you can't hold on to someone who doesn't want to be with you. I realized that I couldn't go back to the life I had with Tom. I needed to take control of my life. A few weeks ago, Tom and I had booked a vacation to Hawaii. It was his idea, a way to reconnect after a busy few months. But now, the thought of going on that trip with him made me sick. I decided to take revenge. I thought of Lisa's friend, Amy, a free, spirited woman who loved to travel. I called Lisa and asked if Amy would be free to take Tom's place on the trip. Lisa was surprised but said, Jane, that's bold. I think she'd go in a heartbeat. With Lisa's help, I managed to transfer Tom's ticket to Amy. When I saw the confirmation email, I felt a sense of satisfaction. Tom had no idea that his carefully planned vacation was about to turn into a nightmare for him. On the day of the flight, I arrived at the airport with Amy. Tom showed up, looking confident as ever. When he saw Amy, his face fell. "What's going on? Why is she here?" I said calmly, "She's coming with me. Your ticket has been transferred." He was furious. "You can't do this. We booked this trip together." I looked him in the eye and said, "Tom, our marriage is over. You already threw it away when you betrayed me. I'm just moving on." As I walked away with Amy towards the security line, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I knew that the road ahead would be tough, but I was ready to face it. I was no longer a victim. I was a woman taking control of her own destiny. In Hawaii, I found a new sense of freedom. The warm sun, the beautiful beaches, and the friendly people helped me heal. Amy and I had a great time exploring the island, trying new foods and making new memories. One evening, as we sat on the beach watching the sunset, Amy asked me, "So, what's next for you?" I thought for a moment and said, "I'm going to divorce Tom. I can't go back to the way things were. And I think I'm going to start writing. I've always had a passion for it, but I never had the time." Amy smiled and said, "That's a great idea. You're so strong, Jane. You've been through so much, but you're still standing." I looked out at the ocean and felt a sense of peace. I knew that my life had changed forever, but I was ready to embrace the new chapter. Looking back, I realized that Tom's betrayal was a wake-up call. It forced me to face the reality of our relationship and to find the strength within myself. I may have lost a marriage, but I gained a new sense of self and the courage to pursue my dreams.